So Behavior, the game studio behind Dead by Daylight, has a brand new game out called Deathgarden. You can currently play it for free on Steam, but I believe it's only free for the weekend or something like that. It's free for a limited time, just for the launch. It's in early access right now, and it's essentially, well, okay, on the onset, like when you look at it, it looks like Dead by Daylight. It just looks like another Dead by Daylight. And in some ways, that's true, but I actually was proven wrong a little bit by this game, because I went into it expecting it's, sci-fi Dead by Daylight. And I love Dead by Daylight, but I just don't think Dead by Daylight really works divorced from, like, a slasher context, like a horror-themed slasher movie context. And I was a little bit proven wrong here. Okay, let me just talk about this game. Just I don't know, just a little bit of opinions. I played it for about an hour, so keep that in mind too. And like I said, I think this is the first day it's out, so yeah. The game seems to be more favored toward the runners than Dead by Daylight. And of course the runners, they're called the survivors in Dead by Daylight, but the we're gonna call them the runners. I will be referring to Dead by Daylight as well, and I'll just refer to it. Just if I say runners, keep in mind I'm probably talking about the 5 and the 5v1. Hopefully that makes sense to you. But yeah, so the game seems more favored in their direction than in the hunter/killer in Dead by Daylight was. In Dead by Daylight, I think the killer is more predisposed to win than the survivors are, and that's just the nature of that game, because it's, and it's not a flaw. That is absolutely a good thing that game is, sort of, the killer is more predisposed to win in most of the situations. That's a good thing. That adds to the game, because the game is supposed to be, based on these slasher movie characters, these slasher villains who, they don't die. They're, they're pretty hard to beat. But this game is definitely more, like I said, more leaning toward the runners or the survivors to win than the hunter or the killer. And I think a big reason for that is, and this is the thing that really separates the game from Dead by Daylight as well, is the movement. The movement in this game is arguably the thing that sets it apart the most from the competition, be it Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, the game, or Evolve, or anything like that, any of these other 5v1, 4v1, whatever type games. That's what sets it apart, because this game has really fun movement, very fun movement. You're called the runners, and yeah, you can run. Your movement is very fast when you're a runner. You can do crazy parkour. You can climb pretty much anything super fast. You can slide. It's very fun. It's very fun, fluid movement. I'm a huge fan of fluid, fast movement in games, and this game absolutely nails that. That is the essential difference between this and Dead by Daylight. Is that. And also, there's a few other differences, but I'm talking about that is the main thing that makes this game different, in my opinion, is that this game has a completely different movement system that is tailored to the lore, almost, because, you are a runner. And you run. You gotta run from the killer. And also, you have the ability to mess with the killer, which really, you have it a little bit in Dead by Daylight, but not as much as this, because you have crossbows in this game that you can shoot at the killer, and there is a role. There's 3 roles, I believe, that you can play as a runner, and one of the roles involves just constantly messing with the killer, and that's pretty fun. Then you also have the support role and some other role I don't even really remember. I think it's called Control or something like that. But yeah, I really like the trickster role, or whatever it's called, where you just mess with the killer the whole time. That one's really fun. Yeah, so that's a pretty it's a pretty big difference. Now you can I don't know, like, you can shoot stuff and mark it for your teammates. That's pretty good. I would argue that this game probably requires more teamwork than Dead by Daylight. Because when I play Dead by Daylight, I don't know, maybe I'm just a bad player at that game, but I don't typically work together very often. I mean, of course you work together, but like I think this game requires working together a lot more, and it encourages it a lot more. I mean, it still doesn't have voice chat, which is something that Behavior needs to get on, because Dead by Daylight doesn't have voice chat either, and I actually don't want Dead by Daylight to have voice chat, by the way. That's throwing my 2 cents into there on here. I thought that not having voice chat was just a choice to, deepen the atmosphere on Dead by Daylight. But since this one doesn't have voice chat either, I'm just thinking Behavior doesn't know how to put voice chat in games. But regardless, I think that voice chat would benefit this game, whereas I don't think it would benefit Dead by Daylight, because in Dead by Daylight, you're against a crazy slasher killer who is listening for your every move, and that game has a lot to do with sound and a lot to do with atmosphere, and I think that would be totally just ruined if you put in voice chat and hear people, swearing at you and stuff. I think that would kind of ruin it. But with this game, I don't think it would ruin it, because this game is very loud, very fast. It's very loud, very fast, and very teamwork focused. You really have to work together when you're the runners in this game, which is something that I can't really say about the survivors in Dead by Daylight, because I think you can win Dead by Daylight just by doing your own thing and hoping everybody else is doing their own thing. Occasionally meeting up to do a generator or something. But yeah, in this game, teamwork is definitely, or at least more organized teamwork is definitely rewarded more than in Dead by Daylight. Now, on the killer side of things, in Dead by Daylight, I should probably specify my stance on killer and Dead by Daylight before I get into the hunter here. I like playing the killer in Dead by Daylight sometimes, but I'm definitely more of a survivor person. Like, I'm definitely more of a survivor guy. I like playing survivor more, but I will say I like killer in Dead by Daylight way more than hunter in Deathgarden. I am not a fan of playing hunter in this game. I thought it was I thought it was unfun. Just to be 100% honest, I didn't find it fun. So in Dead by Daylight, when you're the slasher killer, each killer really does feel different, and I think that they feel like what they're supposed to be, which is slasher movie killers. They really feel like that, because a lot of them are slow, and your slashes of your weapon really feels substantial. That you really feel that punch when you hit a survivor, like with the machete or something like that. Like you really feel that. They feel substantial. They feel scary. If you feel like a threatening presence, also, like the music helps with that. The music in Dead by Daylight and just the sound cues, the atmosphere, all works very well. You just feel infinitely more threatening playing killer than you do playing hunter. Now, of course, that could just be the difference in tone of these two games. Like I said, Dead by Daylight's a lot more atmospheric. It's more slow paced. It's more of my type of game, I guess. But I mean, not just that this game's bad, but it definitely is more slow paced. It's more methodical. It's more I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like, you've played Dead by Daylight, I'm sure. So you probably know what I mean by that. But yeah, this game, the killer, he essentially plays. You know how I was just talking about, like, how cool the movement was for the runners in this game, and how that, like, sets this game apart from Dead by Daylight. Well, the killer in this game, or the hunter rather, I don't know why I keep calling him the killer, but the hunter in this game does not feel substantially different from the killer in Dead by Daylight, but it's very different, like, if that makes sense. Like, because on the surface, it's kind of similar, because it's first person. I guess that's the only similarity. Sorry, ignore that last part. But it is very different, and not in a good way. Or not in a way I would prefer, or ever find myself preferring. Like, Like you know, like if I'm in a mood for like a fast-paced game, you know, like a really fun, fast-paced, fluid movement system, you know, maybe I'd play Runner on this game, you know, rather than playing Survivor on Dead by Daylight. You know, I could see myself being in that kind of a mood every once in a while, but I will never be in the mood to play Hunter in this game because Hunter, just the movement is clunky. I was not a fan of the movement. The default mouse sensitivity is very high. Also, the way the gun moves when you move your cursor is very weird because it sort of lags behind a little bit. Like you're turning and the gun doesn't turn right away. I think it's very awkward. I don't like it very much. I think it's attempting to be realistic maybe, or attempting to be fast, fluid maybe. I don't know, but it's not. It's choppy and it's weird and I don't like it. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It's something that when you play it, you feel it. That it's very awkward and very weird the way the gun moves. And yeah, so as established earlier, the game is very much rigged, or not rigged, but like predisposed to having the runners win. Because the runners have very fast, very fluent, very cool movement that pretty much allows them to escape very easily. And unlike Dead by Daylight, where you have a melee weapon that, you know, one hit and it'll, you know, two hits, two hits, you know, it'll do some damage to the survivors. In this, you have to shoot them a few times because you're using a gun. And just by nature of using a gun, it requires aiming. And I'll just tell you right now, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm just bad at games, but it's very hard to aim at the runners because they are faster than a speeding bullet, and they can parkour out of there, and they can slide and do all this crazy stuff. It's very hard to hit them. It's more hard than it should be, but again, like, I don't necessarily understand what the game's going for, because it's going for like a Running Man situation, right? Where you're being hunted down by like a highly trained killer or whatever. Like, I get that. And it's sci-fi, and you know, there's lots of cool visuals in this game. I will say that the visuals and the feeling when you run as the runner, when you run out of the holding place that you're in before the match starts, and you look at the world spawn before you, very cool. They did a great job with that. The music that plays on that happens, very, very cool. But yeah, like, I don't know why the runners are more predisposed to win. Because it really does feel unbalanced, and not in a way that benefits the game, in my opinion. Because in Dead by Daylight, like I said, the unbalanced nature of it serves a purpose. Because the movies that Dead by Daylight is taking homage from, taking inspiration from, the killers are more predisposed to win. So of course it makes sense that in Dead by Daylight it's going to be really hard to win as a survivor, But in this game, why are the runners more predisposed to win than the killer? If the whole premise behind this is that you're being hunted by a big, scary, futuristic killer, then why? You know what I'm saying? Like, is this coming across? Like, why is it that the runners are more predisposed to win in that situation? Because and of course, it could just be to set this game apart from Dead by Daylight, which, yeah, that could easily be the reason. But it just feels not right for the aesthetic of the game and for the story of the game. I don't think it necessarily works to have the runners have just this gigantic advantage in their movement and all that. But, like I said, I only played an hour, and these are just my first little initial opinions. I'm sure I'll play more of it before it stops being free. Maybe I'll make another video when the free weekend or free period ends, Maybe I'll make another video, like final thoughts on Deathgarden. But as of right now, I'm not too impressed by it. I definitely like Dead by Daylight a lot more. I think Dead by Daylight is stronger in literally every category, except for, like I said, like the movement is fun in Deathgarden. But you know, the movement is perfect in Dead by Daylight for what it is. Like Dead by Daylight is perfect for what it is. The only time I think Deathgarden would be better is if I'm just in a mood for a faster paced game. And like I said, that's not a problem with Dead by Daylight. That's just my mood. If I'm in a mood for a faster paced game and I want to play something like Dead by Daylight, but I don't want to, you know, play Dead by Daylight, which is, like I said, more slow, more plotting, more methodical, then I guess I could play this if I just want something like that. But I could just as easily play Overwatch and and get a fast paced, fun shooter game. So yeah, I can't necessarily say I recommend what is it called? Deathgarden? Yeah, I can't necessarily say I recommend Deathgarden, but my opinions may change by the end of this 6-day free trial or whatever. Man, that was a video.